As we descend into the abyss further every time, we are greeted with countless vistas, environments, creatures and other exotic never seen before beings and areas, with each different from the other when it comes to design, shape and colors, from dark and expressing to calm and beautiful. Environments in the abyss are balanced in a way that makes things all feel natural, the depth of the layers, attention to details on every minute thing. The world feels alive because the abyss is treated like a character itself and was designed and written that way. No matter how dark and depressing it gets, it always manages to surprise us and leave us in awe. We often focus on the initial switch to the darkness in the manga and neglect the beauty in it. Rightfully so, because of how dark the manga gets was something we don't see every day, and especially because of the contrast with the previously welcoming beauty and unsuspected kid-like start. But as long as there is darkness, there is always light, and as long as there is a deadly monstrous creature waiting to kill our protagonists in every level and every corner, there is nature, there is life. There is something to appreciate even within the deep depths of darkness. Hopeful beauty in the themes of the narrative, freedom, joy of adventure. As much as there are things we can discuss about the general topics, characters and jaw-dropping tragic events, let's focus once on those few moments of relief in between all of the craziness, danger, twists and turns. Because once we've experienced the story and all those dark elements, they lose most of the emotional reaction they get from us on every rewatch after that. They sure evoke emotion and still are horrific, but I've realized that what makes me come back time and time again to the world of Made in Abyss wasn't the story, nor the events as good as they were, but the piece that is empowered by the amazing music and the fascinating visuals and locations. Perhaps in search of what I felt in one of my favorite shows long ago, Mushishi, which I talked about previously on here. Made in Abyss was the perfect show when I discovered it for the first time, and I've always been a fan of balance, and my favorite shows are usually ones that perfectly blend two different approaches and general themes well together. It can be humor mixed with seriousness, sarcasm mixed with sadness, tragedy balanced with epicness, and in today's case, beauty balanced with darkness. Let's take a brief look at the different layers of the abyss. The first layer is the most shallow section of the abyss, right below the town of Oath. The environment is consistent and sunny, full of hollows in the grassy rock faces and petrified trees. The wildlife consists of fantastical and mostly harmless animals. Scattered and hidden all across the first layer are praying skeletons that belong to an ancient, distant civilization, which we don't know anything about. This layer is the most welcoming and least dangerous of the bunch. It doesn't look very different than normal forests, as it is the closest to the surface, but the same cannot be said about the second layer. The Forest of Temptation, which is the first truly dangerous section of the abyss. The fauna and environment suddenly change, turning into a tropical rainforest with huge vegetation. The creatures that inhabit this layer are much more dangerous. Deeper in, there is an area known as the Inverted Forest, where the trees grow upside down, the updraft wind blows hard, and even water flows upward. The start of the disappearance of normalcy. A constant theme in the story is reversing our expectations, and that comes very early on, as to show us that this isn't what came before, and that there is no going back. Literally, from here on, the danger starts. The third layer consists of a 4-kilometer vertical cliff, making it a highly challenging area to cross, save for the large cave network around the main shaft. Countless methods have been implemented by many in order to attempt a descent. To varying effects, aerial predators are common, including the terrifying crimson splitjaws. A strange humid jungle of strong vines weaving to form a giant concave discs that capture water from the air, which are what earns the fourth layer its name, the Goblets of Giants. At 9,000 meters marks the famous Garden of the Flowers of Resilience, an area filled with eternal fortunes, the trademark flower of the abyss. A truly beautiful sight, though the danger from the beasts that dwell here is high, as expected the deeper we dive, deeper until we reach the Sea of Corpses, the thinnest layer of the abyss vertically being only 1,000 meters deep, but the widest one horizontally, probably around 10 times wider than the town of Oath. It consists mostly of a large, monster-filled sea with some crystallized sections held up by a thick layer of dense mud. This is the last layer of the abyss where it is possible to bear the curse and return alive and intact. An ancient ritual site, Edo Front, which became a lab by Bondrud and his crew, acts as a gateway into the sixth layer, the point of no return. A white whistle's last drive. A human who tries to ascend from the sixth layer either succumbs to death or is deformed beyond recognition, hence the name, the capital of the unreturned. In Orth, there is a rumor about a garden city at the bottom of the abyss, which originated from the sixth layer, where the ruins of a majestic city sleep undisturbed. It is not uncommon to come across creatures of an irrational danger level here. In a secluded area of the sixth layer, an entire village inhabited by Narihate called Iribu was formed years and years ago and still exists till this day. The seventh layer is called the final milestone, the final known layer of the abyss. Not much is known about it, but there are many rumors about it transmitted from the last dives of generations of white whistle delvers, which are only passed down via word of mouth by none but themselves. These include the claim that from above, something shaped like a ring, only a few white whistle delvers are said to have seen, is visible, and that supposedly along the path to the bottom of the abyss, creatures which are apparently shrouded in mystery, called gatekeepers, exist. It was there that Liza wrote she apparently first spotted a being similar to Reg. No one knows if there is anything beyond this point, which is still shrouded with mystery itself. Just as the abyss is structured around different layers, so is the story and the environmental storytelling, with every layer not only featuring new and different looking areas, but also different characters and often entirely different storylines. Literally, with every descent there is something new, keeping that novelty and sense of adventure present at all times in all aspects of the story. The bonds our characters form, the trust and friendship, the only weapons they can possibly use to combat despair and fear of the unknown, the death that can come at any moment, the uncertainty of being unable to go back or make it to their goal in the first place. This is where I think the value of the characters being kids lies. Not only is childhood the most adventurous and curious state we can ever be in, but also the weakness and lack of abilities and wisdom a grown-up and experienced individual might have make a huge difference. Not only can it be utilized more in moments of danger and horror to make more impact by being defenseless and vulnerable, but also in moments of joy, comedy and lightheartedness. The tenderness and innocence of children has value to no end, or should I say haku, as the story implies. And all of that is done through the style of the manga, which is surprisingly light for what it does. Characters are constructed mainly with circles and round forms, avoiding the use of rigid forms such as triangles and squares, focusing more in doing expressive characters than realistic ones. Backgrounds follow the same pattern, often using middle tone to bring a broader tonal value for the environment, creating a more organic and lifeful feeling to each level of the abyss. It may seem that this style is poorly chosen for a story with a dubious sense of morality in how the characters act and think, but actually that is a great choice. The light character in environmental design creates a dissonance between the heavy content portrayed and the style, making the disturbing moments much more shocking and meaningful, since the reader, like the characters, aren't habituated with what they are seeing, making these scenes more relatable. Obviously, it would be possible to create these moments in a lot of different ways. Berserk uses grotesque visuals with a dense amount of information in each page. Junji Ito utilizes amorphous pictures and cosmical events in daily life. Made in Abyss uses dissonance between its styles and themes to transform heavier moments into more believable situations. The moments between these disturbing events also gain a lot, since they are more focused in character interaction, which works pretty well for the style used. A great part of the design presented in Made in Abyss focuses on character expressiveness, giving a calm and relaxed feeling to the light conversation Riko, Reg, and Nanachi have throughout their journey. This masterful work that blends all elements perfectly, from music, art direction, animation, and overall direction and more, cannot be credited to one person, obviously, but somehow the whole team that came together and worked on Made in Abyss is nothing but perfection. A legend from old Madhouse days who directed Monster of all shows was the director chosen for Made in Abyss, and as one can pinpoint the extreme difference between those two shows. But the grimness and brilliant storytelling from Monster are well present here. Everyone gave their all to this show, but the two main guys whose work stands out and are the reason Made in Abyss looks and feels as it does are the art director Osamu Masayama, who for a long time worked in Studio Ghibli and is credited for a lot of amazing works, as he learned it directly from the legends Hayao Miyazaki and Kazuo Oga. He is involved in the background arts of Weathering with You, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, etc., and his visuals and arts came to life when Kevin Penkin was the man responsible for the music in the show. A man who is very passionate and goes all out. It feels like he is involved with the writing, using his creativity and talent beyond just composition, making for one of the most popular soundtracks and performances in anime making history. And of course the author himself, bringing in not only the entire story and characters from his imagination on paper, but also introducing his signature unique design to the mainstream. I believe Made in Abyss's designs are where Akihito's creativity really shines, showing he has a clear purpose in mind when doing its story, not just individuals, but literally everything in the abyss, from monsters, plants, insects, and environments. There is a level of detail in this manga alone that is simply impossible to replicate and easily stands out as one of its many strengths. I have waited 3 years for the Made in Abyss movie to be animated, and another 2 for the second season to arrive, and they did, and did not disappoint. Of course, after season 1, I bought the rest of the manga volumes and indulged in Akihito's masterpiece, because the wait was too long and painful. But that only made me more excited and impatient for the anime to come even more than I was. Not every day I watch or read a work so full of passion and emotions that I drop a tear or think about in my day-to-day life. I love art and I love stories, and those two, when mastered and combined, are my weak point. Whether it's a book or a video game, losing myself in a fictional world I know someone else, a human like me, came up with as an idea and was able to bring to life in a medium gives me more joy than anything I can think of, and the least I can do is appreciate it when deserved. The hours of work that go into things of this level are almost never compensated, so at least a small showcase of love and appreciation in a world filled with toxicity and ungratefulness should be an easy task. I hope this video reaches a few people who share that sentiment with me and feel the same way about Made in Abyss or another fictional world they always revisit. Have a great rest of the day and many thanks for watching.